Hey, welcome to Lawn and Garden Month here on EchoMeansBusiness.com. I'm Michael from Bedell Property Management, and this month on Echo Means Business, we're doing a series of free webinars with leading brands and industry experts. For all session info, visit EchoMeansBusiness.com and make sure you've got an account. Make sure you sign up, join in on the fun, lots of cool interaction, tips, forums. You can hang out with fun people like us. So in this session, we're discussing how to use water management to increase sales and margins with my friend Richard from Jane Irrigation. I've also got my pal, Scott Horszewski from Landscapes by Acme. So welcome, guys. Both say hey, and let's get into it.
Hey, thanks, Michael. I really appreciate that. Thanks for putting these on. You know, it's a real service to the industry, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for Richard for joining us today.
Yeah, so listen, what an exciting subject to talk about, right? How to use water management to increase sales and margins. You know, I come from a contracting background. I spent 7 years as the director of water management solutions for Valley Crest Companies and was their first director of water management solutions. I have a real passion for helping contractors get better at their business, right? Because I know they do great work. I know you guys care about conservation and water management, and you care about your customers, but there is a lot happening in your jobs every day. And that's why today we're going to really give you some tips that you can use to increase your sales and increase margins. I was talking to a friend of mine recently about this, and we just were talking about water, and we related this story that we both knew, right? And it has to do with some fish, right? And so there's two fish come swimming along, you know, one morning, and off in the distance they see an older fish swimming towards them. And as the older fish gets closer to the younger fish, the older fish looks over and says, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" And the one younger fish looks at the other younger fish and says, "What the heck is water?" And what this emphasizes, or the point of this story, is that sometimes the most obvious but essential things that are around us every day are the things we take for granted. And I think that has happened for a while in the landscape industry and for homeowners associations, and commercial property managers. But it's definitely changing, right? And so we think about, well, why smart irrigation now? What's changing, or what has changed that has raised this? Because really, it's a competitive marketplace. Maintenance, construction, really tough for all you guys out there. So what has changed, right? And what we're trying to do is show you today how to be more competitive in the marketplace, how to show that you have a differentiating factor to your business, so that you don't get in these bid situations, right? We've all done it. We've put together these bids, 20 pages, 50 pages, maybe even 100 plus pages, and we've seen that bid reduced to an Excel spreadsheet with your company name on it and a number next to the name. And that's all that they're looking at, is the monthly number or the construction number. And then in a homeowner situation, you know, homeowner association situation, they sit around a table and they say, well, who's the lowest? Are they a good company? I don't know. They're okay. Let's give them a try, right? And they miss a lot of the stuff that you do better than the competition as a result of getting it boiled down. So with this shift and awareness to water management by the customers, I think that's causing us to really differentiate. And once you do, it's going to make a big difference in your business, because you're going to be known as a water manager more than known as a contractor. So to illustrate kind of this awareness that's been happening in water management, I like to point out a few years ago I went to a conference called WaterCon. Right? Any of you guys know about WaterCon? How about Comic-Con? A lot of people know Comic-Con, but not as many people know WaterCon, right? We got about 70 people at WaterCon. I don't know, 100,000 go to Comic-Con. So we're catching up. We're trying. Anyway, at WaterCon, there was a gentleman there from Walmart, and he ran us through this story that was very interesting. And it was a story of eggs, and more importantly, the story of buying eggs. Now, I don't know about you, but when I go to the store and I buy eggs, I do what I see a lot of other people do. You pick up that carton, you open it up, you look at it, and you say, "Oh, are any of them broken?" I like to touch them all to make sure they all move, that something hasn't cracked and stuck to the side. And when I get a full carton, that's great. I go ahead and put it in my cart. If I get a bad cracked egg, what do? I think I do what a lot of other people do: is you close that carton, you kind of set it off to the side, and you go about your business. Now, what I always thought was, when I went about my business, somebody from the store, the grocery store, would take an egg from another carton, put it with the other 11, remove the bad egg, and they'd sell it. But come to find out, they can't sell those, right? Because every carton has a manufacturing date on it, and it has a tracing date or document to show where it came from in case there's ever a problem. So as a result of one broken egg, they had to throw out all 12. And we learned that day that in a typical day, Walmart was throwing out 1 million eggs a day just in the US. Now, to give you some feeling about how much water it takes to make or produce a million eggs, right? It'd be like going home today after work and turning on your faucet full blast and letting it run for 20 years. And there's a lot of water wasted in that. So what they did is they started to print on each individual egg a date code and where it came from. And Walmart's not the only one who's done this. Trader Joe's has followed along, many of the other grocery chains. My point about this is that people are really starting to focus on water and sustainability. And I'll tell you something else. People will definitely be sustainable if being sustainable saves them money, right? I always joke that I used to call my dad cheap. Today, he'd be sustainable. But what we do and what we can do and what we can show our customers is they can be sustainable and save money. And that money savings is what's going to get them excited about saving water. And more importantly, hiring you to do the water management for them. So we can talk about sustainability, and we can talk about doing the right thing, and we can talk about getting excited about conservation. And I think all those are really great things. But, and I say this unfortunately, but I think what we're going to really see is the thing that gets everybody to really save water is price increases. And what you're seeing right now on this slide is 2010 to 2018, and what we've seen in the price of water across the US, right? So this isn't necessarily your neighborhood, this is an average. Now, this blue line up here is the average for families of 4 using 150 gallons a day. Now, pay attention to these numbers, right? Because there's going to be a trivia question later on that's going to talk a little bit about these numbers. But family of 4 using 150 gallons a day, maybe it sounds like a lot of water, but if you're counting your landscape water and your interior use water, this is not that unusual of a number. The second number is a family using 40 gallons, 100 gallons, and the bottom line here, the gray, is a family using 50 gallons per person. Now, a couple things I want to point out. We see a big change here in the higher rates because many water agencies have gone to tiered rate pricing for water, right? They charge you a certain rate, $5 for your first 10,000 gallons, 10,000 to 20,000 gallons. Now you're paying $7. And in San Diego, if you're using more than 20,000 gallons, and that's where I'm from, if you're using more than 20,000 gallons a month, you're paying $12 per unit for that higher tier. So people in this higher tier do pay more. But as you can see, for all 3 tiers, we've seen significant increases in water. And this is getting people's attention now, right? In Southern California and many other parts of the nation, people are paying more for water than they're paying for their electric bills now. So again, this, if you're a maintenance contractor, you're thinking about maintenance charges and what you're charging for that. Think about it as what you can do by cutting 20%, 25%, 15% off your customer's water bill. All of a sudden, your maintenance bill that you're charging on a monthly is going to look a lot more palatable. So, that's interesting. I'm having a little bit of a problem advancing my slide right now. I don't know what happened here.
Good old technical difficulties.
Yeah, that's very odd.
Technology failing us. I'm sure our team on the back end here will figure that out and help us through it. But I'm really digging what Richard's saying. I think there's a big point when you're seeing the amount that these people are spending on the screen here. We advanced it. So I'll let you continue, Richard. I was just saying that I think as those prices continue to go up, I mean, that screen to me said that inflation's never really transitory. It's kind of always been there and things are always going up. And so if people's incomes were to stay the same or go down, that could present a little bit of a problem. And it sounds like you're going to continue that based on the title of the screen.
Yeah, that was a great save, Michael. Thank you. And yeah, without practicing this together, we definitely got you got a great setup for my next slide. So we're definitely right. I love the title is we're getting hosed, right? What Americans are paying for water and sewer service has increased dramatically over what they're paying for other items, right? In general inflation, including things like electric and gas, right? Which are also part of your utilities. So we're getting hurt by this significantly. I mean, you see this difference, the past 5-6 years, we've seen an increase of almost 60%. So again, this is another reason why people are paying attention to this. And then lastly here on this subject, the other thing that's interesting here to me is that it really doesn't matter how much water you have in an area, right? So I point out Santa Fe, New Mexico here, right? We're back to 150 gallons a day, 4 people. In Santa Fe, New Mexico, it's going to cost you $284 a month for water. Now, why do we have different water rates across the country? It comes down to many things go into your water rate, right? How much water is available, how long ago the infrastructure to move water has been there, right? If you think about it, a lot of water piping and infrastructure was done 50, 60 years ago when gas was under $1 and people were making $2.50 an hour, and that was great. So as long as you're not using more water, as long as you're not having to increase those infrastructures, you're not having to pay more for water. But what's happening is people are moving to all the cities that are nice to live in. And as a result, it's getting more and more expensive to pay for the water. So, this idea of, hey, I'm saving water, but it costs me more every year. And I know this gets people upset. This is just a part of life, right? Because we're always going to have to bring more water to the popular areas. So, which brings up another side of this. And you think about it, your water rates are really important to where you live, right? Because you could be priced out of the market. I love Santa Fe, New Mexico. I think it's one of the prettiest places in the nation. I love to visit there. This water pricing may keep me from ever moving there. And so if you're living in a place that water is an issue, the people that are in charge of the cities and the utilities and the mayors, they start to think about, how do I make my area desirable, even though I might have a water shortage or a water problem? So water rates are really complicated. And I think we're going to see that when we look at a couple things here. One, San Diego, California, average annual rainfall, 12 inches. We're paying about $200 a month for water, right? Santa Fe, $284. Again, as you move it around the country, you can see these different rates. Average annual rainfall doesn't really seem to matter, right? Because you look at Phoenix, gets 9 inches of rain a year, they're paying 71. So they're paying less than they're paying a third of what Santa Fe is paying, and they're paying about half of what Southern California is paying. Tucson, Arizona, just 100 miles down the freeway with more rains, paying double what Phoenix is. Las Vegas with only 4 inches of rain, $75, and LA, 182. So I mentioned those because they're really hot spots for water conservation and irrigation contractors to do water management. Now, if we move to the East Coast and you look at Atlanta, 38 inches of rain, Boston, 47, North Carolina, 43, you think, oh man, water's got to be cheap there. But as you can see, $141, $131, $130, it's expensive on the East Coast as well, even though they're getting a lot more rainfall. And again, it has to do with movement of water, payrolls where the movement of water is, construction costs. And again, this is why I think we really need to pay attention to water management across the country, and why your business, no matter where you are in the US, is going to benefit from this, as well as your customers, as well as the environment. So again, I'm pounding a pretty loud drum right now to do this. And then I also want to mention that finally, if we look at this water US drought monitor map, I don't know, Mike, have you ever seen this before?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
I have, and actually, our local National Weather Service kind of puts out updates on this. Where, like last year about this time, we were actually in that yellow section. It was I'm in Michigan, and it was actually trended a little bit south, and we were running a little bit of a deficit based on the light winter that we had. But then we had lots and lots and lots of rain, and now we're not on the drought monitor map, I think, as you can see.
Well, it's good. I'm glad you actually have looked at this, right? I don't find very many other people in the Get a Life club that I belong to, spend my time looking at the drought monitor. So we're in that club together. That's
Nerds
good
are us over here. We're one and the same.
right? So very glad to hear that, right? And I want more in our club. But you look at this drought monitor, and if you just search Google US drought monitor, you can see this. It's really cool because you can break it out into sections. There's a section just for the eastern seaboard. There's a section for the south, section for the west, and it'll show you very specifically your state situation. I love to use this in presentations because once again, it helps bring this awareness to the customers of what we're dealing with. And these environmental issues aren't going away. We know two things, right? We know that the price of water is going to continue to go up, and the pressure to manage that water is going to increase. So I've got a trivia question here for everybody, and it's a little bit of a trick question. I'll give you that hint. But this question is, what is the largest irrigated crop in the U.S.? And I don't know if we're getting any guesses or not, Mike, but I've done this typically to live audiences, not on the internet. And, people guess things like cotton and soybeans, right? Some of what they think of the hard agricultural crops, hard water users. Mike, have we gotten any input from any of the audience?
Well, I would think it'd be like maybe corn or wheat or something like that. What about you, Scott? Any thoughts?
I would say the same thing. I would say corn or wheat. I mean, that's one of I would think the biggest crops in the United States.
Yeah. So, well, you guys are nice for playing along, right? But the real answer is turf grass. And like I said, it's a little bit of a trick question because people don't think of turf grass as a crop. And the other thing people don't really consider is that of all the crops in the US or all the farms in the US, less than 20% are irrigated. But we do know that almost all the turf grass in the US is irrigated at one time or another, right? If you're not watering your grass, even where you get a lot of rain in certain months, it's dying. So, and the history of turf grass is really interesting, right? After World War II, we had all these veterans coming back to the US, and we had to build houses like crazy. And so we were cutting forests and putting in houses. And man, you could drop grass in there really easily. It looked beautiful. It was fairly easy to take care of. It just used a bit of water, but that wasn't that big of an issue back then. And now we're dealing with water use on turf grass, which by the way, I just want to say this. I think that people want to grow grass. I think that's great for them, right? I think the other thing about turf grass is it's easy to get on this bandwagon to say, oh, let's eliminate all the grass because it's a high water use. But, if you look at toilets in the US, not that long ago, every time you flush the toilet, you're using 8 gallons of water. We didn't say stop using the toilet. We used technology to reduce how much water we needed to flush the toilet. And now we're using 1.5 gallons. There's technology out there to water turf grass much more efficiently. And when you do that, this allows the people that want to have turf grass, and want to pay for the water to do it in a much more efficient way. And we don't say, gee, get rid of your grass, which is really just telling people to get rid of the symptom, not really the issue. And the issue is how they water it, I think. So anyway, hey, turf grass is big out there and definitely a challenge. So let's talk about you and your business and what you're doing, right? So we look at margins for landscape contractors, and I think about especially on maintenance contractors on margin. Like, how many of you guys are bidding jobs at 40% margin? And probably a few hands are going up right now, or a few are thinking, gee, 40%, that'd be nice, right? So then I think, well, what about a 38 or a 35% margin? Or have you ever been in that situation where you lost a couple big jobs and now you find yourself bidding something at 30% margin? I know it happens, right? I've been there. I know that happens from time to time. So if I'm thinking about a 30 or 35 or even a 40% margin on a maintenance job, if I think about what kind of margin am I getting on my irrigation, I think we're going to find that most of you are up around that 50% number. So you're getting better margins on the irrigation. Lots of times you're bidding competitively the maintenance just to get the job, to keep your workers employed while you find another bigger job because you lost one, right? These are some of the challenges you guys all face. So what about that irrigation margin? And what I like to do is I like to measure how much irrigation business I'm getting as a percentage of my overall maintenance business. So for example, if I've got a maintenance job and it's a $100,000 maintenance job a year, and I'm getting irrigation billings on that job of 10%, then my percentage of irrigation sales on the maintenance sale is 10%. Right, 10% of water management sales, $100,000 maintenance opportunity. So where I really think you should be in this, though, is you should be in that 15 to 30% penetration. Because again, if you're in that 15 to 30% penetration, right, getting $30,000 of irrigation business from every $100,000 maintenance account, you can then take a lower maintenance margin because you're going to make it up on the other side on the water management. Now, many people find that they don't have the time to do the water management side of it as well as they like because they're rushing to, maintenance job to maintenance job. But if you think about that margin you're getting on the irrigation, it's definitely an opportunity to raise the overall maintenance of the job. Now, 15% to 30, how'd you get that number, Rich? It's funny because even in places like Denver, Colorado, I know many contractors working in that market that were getting 30% penetration on their accounts. And I think they did that for a couple reasons. One, when you live in a place where you irrigate year round, you're never, I'll get to it next time. I'll get to it next time. There's no deadline, right? Where in like Denver, it's going to snow in the fall, so I have to get all that. I have to do all my inspections. There's a set period of time to do that. And so then when you think about it, there's companies right now that are using that philosophy to create whole businesses of just irrigation and water management. So what they're saying is that I'm not going to do your maintenance. I'm not going to do your construction, right? Pay me $230 a year annual, and I'll come by once a month and I'll inspect your system. And when they do that, they inspect your system, full on, walk, turn it on, and you can imagine what they find. Broken heads, broken pipes, all the things that sometimes we don't have time to find. So The 230 gets them on the property, but where they make all their money is in the repairs. And then what does that customer do? He turns around and tells the maintenance contractor, hey, I need a deduction because you're not managing my water anymore. This guy is. And you lose out on that business. So think about this margin on irrigation versus the margin on maintenance. Start measuring your penetration in there, how much you're actually getting. And I think you'll be, it'll give you some goals and some targets to work towards to be more profitable and win more jobs because you're saving your customers a lot of water. Another suggestion that I have is I wrote an article for Turf Magazine a few years ago, and I featured Par 3. It's a contractor out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, Tom Radin, he's in that picture there. He used to work for me at Valley Crest. Anyway, he's at Par 3 now, and he started to work out agreements for water management for his Las Vegas customers. You remember from the slide, 4 inches of rain a year, and they're only paying like $70 a month for water for a family of 4, but they still know that they needed water management. And he went and looked at his portfolio of customers, and he said, who's really overwatering, right? And we all know when we get on a property that's overwatered, there's a lot of telltale signs. And so he would go to those customers and he'd say, listen, I can save you X amount water, 20%, 25%, 30%. And he'd say, and as a result, you're going to save X amount of money, and I'm going to charge you 20% of the projected water savings a month for your water management services. This brought a laser focus to water management. And in this case, he used smart controllers as a way to manage water, right? He didn't have to visit the property daily, weekly, but he could manage it from a remote computer that accessed the internet. And he could start adjusting controllers. He could see what was going on. He could use water use reports from the smart controllers to see how much water they were using and supply them with reports on a monthly basis of how much they were saving, so that they knew they were getting the value that he set out to, the expectation of what he said they would save. So I thought it was a fantastic idea. Lots of people have said, well, gee, what if somebody's deficit irrigating and you're not saving them money? Well, like I said, you have a pretty good idea, especially if they've been your customer for a while, if they're overwatering or using too much water. So he also ran a premium program where he'd take 80% of the money and he'd install the smart controllers to do this. And at the end of 3 years, the customer just got the controllers at that time. So a couple different things to think about when you're thinking about how to manage water. And I just wanted to give that example out to all of you. So remember where I said, remember the slide. On average, right, this is our trivia question number 2. How many gallons of water does each person in the US use every day? Scott, what do you think? You have a guess on this?
I would say probably like 100 gallons a day.
Yeah.
Is my kind of guess.
Yeah, that's a great guess. Mike, what about you? Any guesses?
I'm going to go under that. I'm going to take the graph you had where it was like 50 and then 100 and 150, and I'm going to take the 100, which is the middle, and I'm going to divide that by 4, and so I'm going to go with 25 based on technical analysis.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. All right. I like both these guesses for a couple reasons, right? They're separate and both have good reasons why, they guessed that. So the answer is 123 gallons per person per day.
We were close if we added our answers.
Yeah, we should have added it.
Right. So the good news is, right, here's some good news. 20 years ago, it was double this. So we're getting better. Mike, you'll be interested to know that really a bare minimum, what we think is a bare minimum, is about 35 gallons per person per day. In fact, there was a state a couple of years ago that tried to legislate that in to their laws to say you can't use more than 35 gallons per day per person, or you'd pay a heavy fine. Didn't pass, but that's what people are thinking. And if you think about it, brushing your teeth, a couple gallons, flushing the toilet 5 to 7. Hopefully people are getting, the gallon and a half toilets now, washing your dishes, shaving. These things all add up. We're getting better at most of them. Showers, on the other hand, average shower is still 10 minutes. And that's the same way it was 10 years, 10, 20 years ago. So, kind of interesting how that's trending, and definitely getting better because of technology, right? I have a dishwasher now. It uses 3 gallons. That's all per use, and it gets stuff really clean. So technology is getting better and helping us with this reduction. So let's think about some hard steps that you can take now if you're convinced that your customers want water management, what you can do to actually provide good water management. So a couple of things I like to say, right? Water management is more than just hanging a smart controller on the wall. Our customers are demanding a lot more than that. However, it's a very good start. But I think what you should be doing, or what will help your customers, is to compare our historical water use to actual plant water requirements. Working with a large HOA right now, they say, we think we're spending too much on water. Well, why do you think that? Because our bill's a lot. And right, this is not atypical for what we hear. Well, we said, well, let's just take a look. How much water are you actually using? I need your water bills. And let's look at ET for your area and how much water you should be using. And we'll see that difference. And if that difference is really big, we're going to know what the potential savings is. So you're going to provide some real numbers to them so they can evaluate whether or not they want your water services. And believe me, it's rare for me to find somebody who's managing water efficiently to where they say, well, I don't really need some water management help. So of course, I'm not going to go through all 7 of these. You guys can read them easily enough, but I think doing things like creating a monthly water budget for them so that you can then show them, look, our budget was this. It was hotter than normal this month, so we used a little bit more, or it was cooler, or we made these changes and we actually used less as a result. Again, you can't manage what you're not measuring. This is a way to measure it so that you can share that information with customers, and I don't want to say justify what you're charging, but it's going to be very helpful in that. A couple other things, I think are important when it comes to this is, you really need to develop some marketing items as well to help get this water management program started for your business. So here's 11 good ideas for you today. I'm going to touch on a couple of them, and I have a few examples as well. But I think one that's really important is a leave behind sell sheet. And what I like to do with these leave behind sell sheets is spark an idea, right? And I'll tell you right now, and this is kind of the good and the ugly of selling water management services. It's going to be rare for you to go to a customer and say, hey, we've got a new water management service, and they're going to sign up on the spot. It's not a one-call close opportunity. It's going to take 2 or 3 probes, I think. So I always like to talk to them about water, right? Ask them about how much they're paying, their water use, right? Big picture stuff. And then have a leave behind sell sheet that talks about some of the ways we can actually save you water. So one thing I try to remember, right, what everybody's thinking when the other person's talking in sales situations or educational situations like this, right? Even all of you are thinking to yourselves while I'm speaking, so what? So what? Why does this matter, right? So the so what for you guys right now is this is how you improve your business or get more business and raise your margins. For your customers, the so what is, hey, we can save water and we can save you money as a result. And oh, by the way, keep your property looking as good, if not better, because we're watering appropriately. So once they get the so what, then the next thing you're going to say is prove it. And that's where the success stories come into place. The success stories, or the case studies, as I like to call them. And this is proof. And case studies, boy, I know people scratch their head on this and they say, oh, these are hard. I don't have any. And I think it's important that you have case studies. And if you sell to HOAs, if you have an HOA case study, commercial properties, you have a commercial property case study. And let me tell you, they are not hard to write. Think of them in 3 paragraphs, right? Because everybody's got a short attention span now. So think about your customers. You have somebody that you saved water for. I know you have. or you've got a target that you've just started or will start soon. And the case study is a 3-paragraph. The first paragraph establishes what the issue was or is: overwatering, lots of turf, spray heads, high pressure, whatever. That's the issue. Second paragraph, what's the solution? High pressure, I put pressure reducing nozzles. I put a pressure reducer at the valve. Whatever it is you did, I use MP rotating nozzles instead of a regular spray pattern, right? On lots of sprays on turf. What is the solution goes in paragraph 2. And then paragraph 3, what was the result? Or if you're just starting it, what's the expected result, right? I don't have a lot of these because I haven't done them for the last 2 years. So I don't have an actual result. So here's the expected result. We plan to save 20, 25% water savings. And this equates to $50,000 a year in water prices, 25,000, whatever it is. That's your 3-paragraph success story or your case study. Your customers will love it, right? Again, so what? And prove it, and that's the prove it. Once you start to get these things down, 1 and 2, 3 through 11 will really play out well for you, and you'll have an opportunity to do all of those or none of them. It's just really what you see as fit. But these are some ways that you can expand. And the great thing about these, I think, is that they're not that hard to put together. And it's really evens the playing field. If you're just a small contractor with a few employees, and sometimes you're competing against some of the big guys, you think, what chance do I stand? All these 11 are something that one person can do very easily and put together. And it really evens the playing field without spending a lot of money. And that's what I think is great. So as far as the leave behinds, right, these are a couple that I created many years ago, but still work. Water management's more than fixing sprinklers, and you can't read these that well, and there's a reason for that. And anybody who wants to email me after the presentation and ask for actual copies of this, feel free to do it. I'm happy to help out. I want to help you do more business and help you manage water. The 10 easy ways to save water. I love that too, because again, you're having a conversation, then you're leaving this behind, and it's a tickler, right? They're going to go Google some of these ways. They're going to figure it out on their own too. That's what everybody does these days, right? Mike, they start Googling and educating themselves, and that's what we're looking for. And then I love this sheet, and it's ways to save customers water. And I do this because, anytime anybody's selling something to me, the first thing I'm thinking is, how much is this going to cost me? How much is this going to cost me? And sometimes I'm not even listening to what they're saying because I'm trying to figure out how much it's going to cost me. So what I put together was ways to save customers money. And I talk about the method, how it works, and then finally the estimated price. This way, people can then get over their worry about how much this is going to cost, and can be really focused on what's important and how much it's going to save them. And that's where you can really focus that their attention, because again, if something costs money, but you're going to show them over 2 years, it's going to completely be paid for in the water savings, and years 3 through 20 is all profit in their pocket. They'll get this a little bit better. So I love these leave behinds that are the ways to save people, ways that your customers can save water. And again, it's things like smart controllers, it's drip conversions, it's hydrozoning, it's changing the pressure or reducing pressure. All these things tend to help. And again, put a price in there, what they can expect to pay. And, their eyes will go to the things they can afford or what they have budget for. And it'll start this conversation. And once you start saving them water, they'll always be open to saving more water in the future. So I don't think anything on here is beyond what any contractor can do. And it's just a matter of managing the process and moving forward with saving your customers water and money. And then here's a couple examples of the case studies, right? Again, this is the prove it part. water efficiency success stories. There's one for an HOA. There's one for a city of Santa Clarita, right? So a bigger project. But again, still working with these 3-paragraph ideas. Again, email me and I'll share others with you that I think are really good. The other thing I'd like to say about these case studies is, you can simply say, gee, I had a guy using a lot of water, so I put a smart controller on his property, and paragraph 3, he saved 100,000 gallons a month. You want to make it a little bit more memorable, right? So people like to hear stories. It's more memorable if you tell it in a story. So, hey, I had an HOA, Black Horse HOA. It was a mature HOA of about 125 homes. They had spray heads that were installed back in the 80s when everybody was putting spray heads everywhere. They didn't have a smart controller. We swapped out the smart controllers for smart ones. We put in drip irrigation. So that was our solution. And then the result, hey, they saved $15,000 a month in water. The controllers paid for themselves in just a 12-month time period. And by the way, I went to the Homeowners Association meeting that year, and many homeowners came up to me and said, our properties never looked better. So that's the extra punch in there, a little bit of a story, something you'll remember, some of your customers will remember, and help them get excited about this. I mentioned earlier, having this tool about what is your water use and what is your plant water requirement. I put together this spreadsheet. It's just an Excel spreadsheet with, and you put in your square footage of your property, you put in your monthly ETs, and it calculates out for you a base schedule for your irrigation. I think this is really valuable. I'm happy to share this Excel spreadsheet with you as well. It's great for that presentation, right? When that person says, I think I'm spending too much, but I don't know. Here's a tool that you put in things like what percentage is turf, how much is shrub, what the irrigation efficiency is for those areas, and you get a number. And it'll become very obvious to the customers when they see these numbers, whether or not they should be working on some water management upgrades or not. So we're down to, it says trivia question number 4. I realize it's just 3, but what has been the best way to get people to save water, right? Why we're here today, saving them some water, getting us some better business. Any guesses here, Mike?
Well, from my experience, it's just been having the conversation with people. Most of the time, people are too busy. They feel the pain when they get the water bill, but then they pay it, they move on. And getting them to slow down and focus on the situation a little bit, like you said, tell a little bit of a story. A lot of times you solve a problem that they had, but it's not burning their life down. So maybe they don't want to deal with it. Especially the past couple of years when things have been going well for people. There's been stimulus money. So it's having that conversation and then letting the results speak for themselves. What do you think, Scott?
I feel it's the same way. I mean, a lot of people will tell us about how their, water bill last year was, $800 a month. And then that gets you to get in the door and say, hey, well, by changing over to smart features, like the smart controller and changing some heads out, we can save you some money. And that, a lot of people want to save money. And as, like Mike said, with all the stimulus and all that, people are willing to put more money into their landscapes this last couple of years. And that's a good way to get into the door.
Yeah, boy, both those answers are great, very illuminating. And very close to what I have. And that's been raise the prices, right? Because what that does is, to Mike's point, brings an awareness to the water I'm using when my price goes up. And as Scott said, show them how they can save money, right? Because again, if that price is going up, I'm going to, so what? We're going to save 20% on your bill this year. And by the way, that's a lot of money with some of these large accounts. So yeah, good answers, guys. Thank you. So that's it for me today. I did put my email address in here. So like I said, if you want some help, if you want any of those information on any of those case studies, the Excel spreadsheet or some of the other marketing items, examples, email me. I'll send them to you, and that would be great. So, Mike and Scott, anything else from you guys today?
I have nothing. I don't know about you, Mike. Do we have any other questions? Anybody have any questions that are out there?
Yeah, we'll let some of those stream in, but I just hope everyone, whether you're watching live with us or watching at a later date, go back, listen, take some notes. This is one that maybe you want to listen to a couple times because Richard really gave up the secret sauce here, I think. A lot of us work really, really hard, like you mentioned, on the maintenance end of things, but this is kind of the easy money. This is the stuff that people really appreciate because you can actually save them money rather than just spend their money. And at the end of the day, this is something that can take a property that's like maybe looks kind of like a C or a B. It's okay, but by fine tuning that irrigation, not only are you potentially saving the customer money, but you're now taking it to like a class A property where you've created this wow factor because you've gone beyond just right plant for the right place. You've gotten into properly taking care of that plant through proper watering. So I think this is really, really great. And I can't thank you enough, Richard, for taking the time to share with us. I see others feel the same way. This is some really great info.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great summary. I couldn't have said it better myself. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Well, thank you so much for joining us here, and we'll let Scott take this one out.
Well, thank everybody for joining us, and be sure to follow us on Echo Beans Business on our Instagram page. Follow us on the web. You can follow us anywhere. We're even on Instagram. So follow us. Follow all the rest of the lawn and garden month series going on. Go back, rewatch it. Like Mike said, rewatch this. There's a lot of good information. There's a lot of good information on all these. And I want to thank Mike for being on here, and I want to thank Richard for definitely coming on here and letting us know all that we can learn from you. And if you need to get a hold of Richard, there is back there, or you can contact him at Jan Irrigation. So thank you guys for all joining, and keep following us for the rest of the series.